January 26th WDIC meeting. Welcome everyone. We have some new people here, so why don't we go around and introduce ourselves to the new people. I will start. I'm Henry Grandison. I'm a legislator for the 3rd District of the Legislature. My area is the city of Wdic, and I'm the chair of this fine committee. Why doesn't Rachel go next?
Hi, I'm Rachel Graham. I am an employee of the Tompkins County Clerk's Office. I'm also a member of the county's Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion team, and co-chair of this committee. And Lisa's next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Holmes. I'm the interim county administrator, and I've been on WDIC since, I want to say 2006 or thereabouts. Maybe, yeah, 2006, I think. Do I pick who's next?
Sure.
I'm looking at you, Deanna.
Good afternoon. I'm Deanna Carruthers. It's good to see all of your faces. I'm a member of WDIC and Chief Equity and Diversity Officer here, and also facilitate Team Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I'll pick Ruby.
Good afternoon. I'm Ruby Pulliam, Commissioner of Human Resources. Mona.
Good afternoon. I'm Mona Smiley. I am the project coordinator here at the Community Justice Center.
Why don't we next choose Kate?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, sorry, I was away on a phone call. I'm Kate Jinks Booth, the Director of Tompkins County Youth Services.
Okay. Ann Corman.
Thanks, Henry. I'm Ann Corman, Tompkins County Legislator for the district of District number 5, Ulysses, Town of Ulysses, Trumansburg area, northern part of Enfield, and a smidge of the town of Ithaca.
Okay. Veronica.
Hi, I'm Veronica Pillar. I'm a new Tompkins County Legislator for District 2, which is also in the city of Ithaca next to Henry's.
Okay. Ken Clark.
Ken Clark, Tompkins County Office of Human Rights.
Okay. Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Griep. I am one of the deputy clerks at the legislature.
Okay. And Rob Brown.
Hi there, I'm Rob Brown. I'm an appointed member, a community member from Lansing, also a director of finance at Finger Lakes Reviews.
Okay. Well, thank you all for welcoming yourselves to everyone. I guess we're next going to go, if you had a chance to review the December 1st minutes. If you have any comments about them. No changes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move.
Second.
Second, moved by Rachel, seconded by Ken. Why don't you just do it by voice vote or whatever? Everybody approves the minutes?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Anybody disapproves of the minutes or abstains? Thank you. The minutes are approved unanimously. Moving on to discussion items. We have a discussion item from Dana Carruthers about reimagining public safety.
Really, we just wanted to take the time to introduce Mona Smiley, the new CJC project director. We're so excited that she's been appointed to this role and grateful for her choosing Tompkins County after a national search. We are grateful she's here. She's beginning her 3rd week here with the county. She will oversee the joint plans of the Reimagining public safety process, and I'll turn it over to her for introductions. Just before I get started, just wanting to taking her around to different places, meeting the relevant committees, knowing that officially in terms of reporting, this work reports to public safety, but we'd be remiss to not, equity is at the heart of the reimagining process. And so it's at the forefront of all the work. And so wanted to make sure that she had a chance to come here and then as appropriate, be invited back to come for updates and things of that nature. So take it away, Mona.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Deanna just pretty much summed up what I've been doing here. So I'm going on into week 3 or wrapping up week 3. It's been a whirlwind of meeting lots of different community members and stakeholders and colleagues, working on getting acquainted with the plan, knowing the ins and outs of it, and I look forward to working with everyone throughout this process. Thank you.
Welcome to the county, Mona. Any comments, any questions for Mona? Remember, it's her 3rd week. Okay, well, welcome, and you can stay if you would like, or you can bow out if you have other meetings to attend. Oh, we also have another person who joined us late, Ms. Claiborne. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Good afternoon, everyone. Leslyn McBean Claiborne, and I learned today that I am still a member of the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. My term expires December of 2023, so you're stuck with me. So here I am. And I am glad to be a part of the committee.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Did you really just realize that? That's hilarious. I love it.
I did. I called the clerk's office today to find out, because it popped up on my reminders, and they said, you don't have to reapply your application because it doesn't have you on as a legislator. You're just on as a member. So, or at large. It's not at large in your legislature. I'm just a member. So here I am.
Yay, glad you're here, Leslyn.
Thank you.
That's great.
Okay. Our second discussion item is the diversity statement rollout. Diversity statement was approved by the legislature in the second December meeting. So want to go to Deanna Carrizas again to talk about the rollout of the diversity statement.
Really, this is more of a discussion topic. So on December 21st, let me ask the question. We have some new colleagues here. Have you all seen the new diversity statement, the final diversity statement that was approved? Fantastic. Okay, so we start there after a year's process, which the majority of the folks on this screen participated in that process. Now we need to inculturate the statement into the organization, and wanted to lift potential ideas or just start here with the conversation about how we'd like to have that be a part of the discussion, also knowing that the values, the Tompkins County values still need to be rolled out as well. And so we're trying to identify how to do those things together, but then also recognizing that the diversity statement is distinct and different as well, and don't want to proceed, this is the committee this is the program committee where this work resides, and want to be respectful of my colleagues here in terms of moving that work ahead.
Well, do we know or maybe Rachel can address how you're going to roll out the Tompkins County values? Has that been discussed yet in JEDI?
Well, JEDI doesn't own so I would say the value discussion predated my even started, as you. So what I can tell you, this is what I know. I met with Amy and Dominic to try to discuss this. There were some discussions around posters and some of the physical interpretation of what that would look like. But to me, I want to make sure that we are addressing, and I think they agree with this, addressing the culture of the organization. So whether or not that was a series of trainings or discussions around the values, making sure people know what they mean, what does the language mean, how do we expect people to live the values and live the diversity statement in our work. How one of the conversations that I heard multiple times was, what is the difference between diversity, equity, inclusion, and then when we include justice as well, making sure we spell those things out, dimensions of diversity, equity, inclusion. How do we know that our department heads are understanding and aware of what's being presented, doing that? But then also there was an idea, some folks mentioned that potentially we could do some kind of challenge, in terms of we catch somebody living, living into our statement. How do we reward them for that, and just something like that, or just an example. None of these things, again, have been fleshed out because it would be something that we would want to have this committee support as a part of. In addition to that, having all of the statements that we have here replaced, but also making sure that we memorialize the former statement, that it has a place that we know where we've been to where we're going as well. And then also we have a Team Jedi meeting tomorrow. So I was going to garner some more ideas from them as well. And the goal was to bring a proposal back to this committee in terms of what we could do for the rollout, but also didn't want to be presumptuous and just jump ahead of our work because, it happened December 21st, then everybody went on break, now we're here. But knowing that it shouldn't just be hanging something on a wall, we need to be having conversations. I wanted to have some kind of like coffees or fireside chats around the statement, getting lots of ideas and building support and having our departments be a part of this. Also I would like to go to every single staff meeting and be a part of them, or have people from here do that as well to talk about the statement. And then again, embed that in the work and the planning for the year. So those are just initial high level ideas, but would appreciate any ideas or guidance around what we're thinking here. If there are other things that we wanted to for sure have happen. But also Leslie also mentioned the last time when you did this, you had a big party. So the party is already, I'm looking forward to that after we get some more work done. And so nobody throws a party better than Leslie from what I've gathered here so far. So I'll be in touch directly with you on that. How we get that part done, knowing that that's where you're a member to 2023. You can't.
Lisa was at the party. Kit was at the party.
That was my first meeting. I
Yeah.
think, was the party with
It was
ice
on
cream
the
cake.
Commons.
Yes.
The middle of the Commons at the Bernie Middleton Pavilion with cake and ice cream over the lunch hour, so that all of Tompkins County, everybody who passed by knew you got ice cream and you got a pamphlet with information about Tompkins County stepping up and in transformative ways around equity, diversity, and inclusion. So yeah, we had us a party, girl.
We're gonna do that. I can't wait. So those are just some initial ideas for the rollout. But again, sometimes, when we're thinking about our conversations here, I don't want to feel too prescribed, because I think the journey is really important and how our employees experience the new statement. And I'll plan to write up something, but also just wanted to give some initial ideas and take time here. Hopefully it's okay with you, Henry, to see if there are other things that we would like to do or have in place. But then also getting some really cool swag is what I'd like to also have with our statement as part of that as well. My goal is that you cannot get away from it. Not that you should want to at all, but it's going to be everywhere.
You mentioned staff meetings. Do many people have staff meetings within the organization?
Yeah, I think it's a typical thing for departments to have staff meetings. It's somewhat atypical for departments not to have staff meetings.
And also with this, we'll call one if we need to. We just need to.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel?
Yeah, so I know that when I was on the values team. There was talk of including the values in performance reviews. And I think we still are, I don't know if we're waiting for an update from the performance evaluation team or what ended up happening with that. But there was work being done from the 2018 climate survey performance review team. And there was supposed to be some kind of overlap with the values and performance reviews. I don't know if that would be the case also with the diversity statement, if that would be part of that also, but it could be, and I think probably should be. One other question I had about that, and I've lost it now, but it will come back to me.
So, go ahead, Lisa.
I can speak to that a little bit, Rachel, and Ruby and Deanna, feel free to chime in. Where the values, no, sorry, the other team from Team Jedi, I just lost what's the name of it? Not the accountability team, the performance evaluation. The team that was working on performance evaluation, we'll say they provided some recommendations to county administration and some models for performance evaluation, which we have then, we've met recently, Amy, Deanna, and myself together with Ruby and HR to look at the county policy on that covers performance evaluation. And we're trying to update that policy and include those recommendations and speak to the values. And our goal is to roll that out for review sometime soon. But we've met on it a few times, and I know you guys maybe have even met another time without me. So that work is continuing to move forward.
And Lisa, to add to that, we even thought about including in the template for the performance evaluation, a specific section on diversity goals.
Yes.
Next question.
Thank you.
Leslin?
So I want to revisit real quickly something we had talked about, and that was before even getting to sort of like the performance evaluation part of it, because is allowing for a year or so of report outs from departments on what they have been doing to further the values, to embrace, to include the values into the work systems. And we had talked about where do they report, Lisa? I don't know if you remember that conversation. Is that reporting that happens to WDIC before the full legislature? And it just sort of got stalled somewhere. Not sure where. I mean, when you talk performance evaluations, you know, that can be relatively intimidating. And so this was an in-between step. And I shared with Jason at the time, I believe, Joe before that, a template just for a report out. Twice a year, you know, mid-year and at the end of the year, so people get a sense of how do I keep DEI central to what I'm doing And it has to be, if you have to report out on, you know, how are you doing it? It was DEI and communication were all put together. So I wondered if that's a thing to sort of look at before we jump right into performance evaluations. Of course, our policy or diversity policy calls for evaluation measures for DEI work within departments. So I just thought I'd put that out there as a reminder. That was something that we had talked about incorporating, and to give people a little stepping stone to get to that place of a full-fledged performance evaluation.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Les. And I do remember that. And I think the answer is probably a both. Yeah, a yes, both and both, or however you say that. I'm having trouble speaking today. So we're looking at performance evaluation specifically in relation to some of the results of the last climate survey, where some employees have reported that they've worked here for a good long time and have never had a performance evaluation or discussion. And we know that that's something really important for accountability, engagement, for supervisors to be actively working with and managing employees, giving them tools and resources to succeed. So we definitely want to follow up on that as one more piece of our accountability after the last climate survey, and incorporate the values and the DEI component there. But that was really in follow-up to that last climate survey. And then your point is well taken. And I do think, Irene, I have that template that I could refer to in terms of the stepping stone for departments to report out on their goals and movements around DEI initiatives.
Okay. Deanna, what do you talked about going to staff meetings, talk about promoting the diversity statement, but you also talked about the party. Should the party be the kickoff, or should we do things before the party to build ground or whatever?
So I think this is a multifaceted component, and there's never a place where we're not celebrating and partying and to celebrate diversity, and the good, the bad, the ugly, because sometimes you got to cry to get there in the work. So what I would say is, I think, to me, it's up to the group really when you would like to see that happen. I could see doing it as a celebration of the year's worth of work that's already been accomplished to get to this point, because you guys did a tremendous amount of work, yeoman's work, so did the entire organization to get to the spot and kick off and say, use that party as a kickoff, or in the next year, you're going to see the diversity statement come to life in these following ways, and also knowing that that's coming along with the strategic diversity planning process as well. Or, after we put a little bit of work in, it could be we flex some muscles here, this party here, or at the very end, So I'm fine with throwing one party or multiple parties, because I want to, when we talk about the infusion, it needs to be in the DNA of this organization. And we just have to keep saying the same things and keep lifting work. One of the things that, in addition to the staff meetings, is just a conversation. We want the staff to take that conversation and lead from there. We want them to take it into their workforces with the potential of looking at a challenge. It's like, how do you do that at the DMV? How do you do that at Weights and Measures? How do you do that at Veteran Services when Veteran Services is a minoritized population, and all of those different things? And so bringing those things to life in a way that makes sense, because it'll look different in every space. Also making sure that they understand their workforce, right? Who are they serving? Why are they serving them? Why are they there? And lifting those things, because it'll look different in every space. Because so for example, some of our groups that serve a more minoritized populations, they'll have more encounters, or they'll have more opportunities. There are some who it's like deer in the headlights. So we want the folks who are in culture, the ones who are already fired up and ready to go, give them the fuel to keep going in terms of the passion for the work. But then those who don't have any gas in the tank, put some gas in the tank to help along. That's, to me, ultimately the challenge with the organization, because everybody's in a different place at a different time. So to your question, I'm happy to we are happy to, I mean, of course, I'll help facilitate and coordinate that, but we, the collectively, can do that anytime. But if it's going to be on the Commons, it sure ain't going to be on the Commons in this code, because I organize it for you, but I won't be out there. Tell you right now, Omicron. I'm not going to do that to y'all today. But I don't want no public air. Not at this point.
Yes, Ruby.
Okay, I just wanted to, as Leslie was talking, I remembered the first work plan that I had to submit last year. This is my first year. I made it 1 year, Leslie. And in the instructions, it had, as we do the work for 2021, to please keep in mind that we center equity in our workforce and the way we provide services. Please keep equity, diversity, and inclusion at the forefront of your goals and objectives. So we had to do the objectives with that in mind and ask yourself, are we approaching this from an equitable perspective, and what we can do to make this approach more inclusive to our constituents, customers, and each other. So that was included in our, am I on mute? Okay, that was included in our work plan instructions, and I did it. So I'm assuming everyone else did it, or Jason and Autumn would have sent nasty little emails to them. So it's probably just reminding department heads that this is what we do every year.
Well, I know, Lisa, are people still working on their work plans?
Departments are sharing their goals with the legislature committees, but was that more for work plans for their evaluations with the county administrator? So that's a separate exercise. But I love that language. I think that's fabulous.
But you could highlight the diversity statement in connection with the work plans.
Yes.
Last year, Jason and I partnered together on a little bit a part of the process. And so Jason said, how, I think too, what Leslie's point is, how do we help bring people along? So did some initial, research on a couple of things and gave them some questions that I think Ruby was referring to before. And then when the goals were solicited at the time, put some of that framing in there, knowing that some people were just like, I just don't have it, and then some people are like, oh, here we're gung ho. And so, and then followed up with the departments a couple of times, just saying, if you need anything, can I reach out to you, knowing that it's been really constricting with COVID because we want to do lots of tours and I wanted to go out and meet, shake hands with, not shake, elbow or whatever. But in other words, that wasn't happening because many of the buildings were closed, and when things would happen, when we would get ready to schedule up to do some of those things, it would surge in numbers and things of that nature. So we did some individual face-to-face calls, like virtual calls, but then also some of the other departments reached out directly. So for example, I've done some work with the Department of Aging recently and some of their aging groups, and also planning preemptively, contacted me last week and said, hey, there's a particular program that we want to work with you on to implement the next year. Actually, they want to retool the program, making sure we're centering diversity, equity, inclusion. And I said, and they're talking about the priorities of things. And one of the things I lifted, I said, it has to be a type priority. I don't want it to be, if you have a 50-page work plan, I don't want it to be page 49. So if we're going to work on it in the next year. So I think that folks are coming around to some of these things, but we just have such a long ways to go.
Deanna, do you know, is there a diversity month or diversity day that is celebrated?
Every day.
Except for every day.
Okay. Well, you mean like diversity. So I guess I would say that's in the eye of the beholder, right? Because we just had MLK Day. For some folks, we all have LGBT. There's Pride Month. To me, that's a diversity month. Right. We have Black History Month. We have all kinds of things. And so I think that our calendar will inform that. But I'm not being flip when I say every day. Because there are so many opportunities to elevate the work. But if you're asking, does Tompkins County need to just call something out and do something? We can figure that out. I'm sure that's what you're kind of getting.
No, I was just wondering whether there was already a predetermined diversity month, like May or something, a month where we could have a party on the Commons.
Do
But-
have a World Day for Cultural Diversity.
Diversity, I mean.
That's in May. There's several different ones, but I don't know if you want to restrict, like you said, restrict it to every day. Yeah. And then there's,
There's Global Diversity
April,
Awareness.
Celebrate Diversity Month. There's a whole lot, but, oh yeah, and then National Diversity Day is first Friday in October.
Right, so it's just like.
Take your pick every day.
Every day.
Okay.
But if there's something we want to tie it to, which I think locally, I think that would be something we would want to consider, because one thing that I find to be absolutely amazing, being from the great state of Kansas, I say it every time I can, is the commitment to history here, and just all the amazing things. I still pinch myself every time I go by out Sally's home, like I just can't believe I live in this community. And so if there's something that we think we want to lift, we can do that. I know the GIAC, aren't you guys having a big, isn't it the 50, 60 year commemoration of the organization? Something coming up.
Yeah, that's in September.
Mhm.
Any reason for a party when it comes to me, I would put on music and dance just because. Is HR planning look, COVID, let me get my thoughts together. People have been, some of us more depressed than others with this whole COVID thing. And is HR planning anything just around an employee breathe day? I don't know if something is being planned, anything around there. You know how we've done the drive-through with lunch and this is your day to breathe, cabin fever.
We have
events,
been
anything?
discussing activities and events that we could sponsor to boost the morale. So we are working on it, even thinking about something in February. So we're working on some things.
So yeah, I was just thinking about something like that, our own, like I said, cabin fever event that celebrates each of us and uplifts each of us and our value to the organization, the community, the world, might be a good place to unveil, our statement, because our statement speaks to that. And your special swag gift is that magnet with the statement and whatnot. I don't know. Just a thought. National Diversity Day is too far off.
Thinking about generally just the psychology of throwing a celebration in honor of the diversity and inclusion work and the amazing diversity of our community. I'm going to suggest that it would be probably more impactful for some members of the community if we just did it on a day that worked for the community calendar, rather than necessarily tying it to a named event like National Diversity Day or something like that. Because saying, oh, in honor of National Diversity Day, we're doing blank is nice and fine. But many people are going to receive that as, oh, it's on the calendar, and so they're making the gesture, as opposed to us saying, we celebrate and thrive on this stuff, and so we're having a hoedown just because we can.
I like a hoedown. I'm ready for hoedowning just because we can. In the big red barn. I agreed with you, Rob, on one of the reasons why I was thinking if HR is just planning something in general.
Yeah, I was also thinking about maybe doing something during a Juneteenth celebration, but I don't want to basically take away from Juneteenth to put Diversity Day there too. And so we could do it like in May or whatever, just a random day. A day when it's nice in Ithaca. Any other comments?
I have one more. So we'll also be doing like a revamping of the website, like not the whole website, but a portion where, you know, it would link to WDIC, maybe something about JEDI, and then the new diversity statement, maybe with the values too. We are talking about that too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So then, if I hear you correctly, Henry, I have lots of ideas, or it seems like lots of enthusiasm around this. I'll bring back a few ideas for just a quick one pager for things we can consider. And then for the rollout discussion, knowing that every time there's a new employee, it's an opportunity to share this information. One of the things that we did on the last year was redo the DEIJ section of orientation. And so every new employee, that's where we start their first day, making sure that we start with that discussion, knowing that 30 minutes is not enough, but I always tell them, no one ever says it to you again, you're gonna get it today, and hopefully you'll participate in other parts of our organizational programs and things of that nature, knowing that there's no place where this work does not exist. So we'll move ahead, and then also maybe somebody who is really thoughtful in their taste can help pick out the swag, because you're gonna get a pen, a big pen. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Well, we next move to the strategic diversity plan.
So this is going to be like the call out for church. You know, we need that church committee, like the cooking committee. We're gonna. So one of the things that we talked about last year was, and Leslie did a great job, but I appreciate Leslie had done quite a bit of work from before. It sounds like prior to my hiring, things like that. And you sent me a draft of what had been started before. And we also had the climate survey information. Last year, we spent the year working on the diversity statement, but we didn't want to start the strategic planning process or finalizing kind of planning until we finished the statement. Now that time has come, and so I'll be looking for volunteers to work on that committee to kind of develop that 3 to 5 year roadmap for the work we intend to do with this committee. And so I just wanted to lift that here for any folks that wanted to volunteer to serve in that capacity, knowing that there'll be always updates here and frequent touch points along the way. And I see that Ruby's about to turn her screen off even as I say this. I can tell before we get started. But just looking for fresh energy, people who have good ideas. Was that a hand raise, Leslie?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I thought maybe I turned this way. And so, yes. So
You saved her, Leslie.
Looking for people to serve in that capacity. And also we will do a call out for sure we're trying to pick people throughout the organization, like maybe some union representation, different colleagues as well, but because that plan will live through this committee, I think it'll be important that we have a strong, significant presence in that work, and that whatever you're reporting back to the the legislator knows what we're doing. Ann says, a big pen with many colors of ink. Absolutely, I love it.
Me too. There's a really nice swag gift that Annie wears around her neck. It's a scarf. Yes. Mm-hmm. We can put, diversity on it, workforce diversity. I'll take one of those. I'll be happy to participate. And I was also just thinking that, legislators, because the legislature is probably going to be doing work around their own sort of strategic planning, or visioning. It might be good to have some legislators or a legislator on here as well.
Absolutely.
If that would help.
I'll also be on it too.
Yeah, with your bad self, Henry.
Yes, I did say 3 to 5 years. Rachel, did you have a question to surprise you? How far out it is? We'll start working, but that's what the plan is supposed to be. Like that's the typical. mapping out, because if we think about structures, systems, and processes, they don't change overnight. And if we're really trying to shift the tide on a lot of these things, it takes a really long time to do them. Also, knowing that we won't just set a plan one day and say this is what we do. We'll see how successful we are 1 year, but then also as things arise, we'll continue to update. It'll always move along. So it's an active document that'll continue to push forward.
Okay, I was thinking you were saying we'll have it ready in 3 to 5 years. And I'm like, listen, we got a draft plan from 2013. Can we move a little quicker with this?
No.
Okay, got it.
No.
Thank you.
Let me just out myself. I'm a millennial. You know how long that feels? Like 3 to 5 years? Okay. I don't even know where I will be. Okay, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. So I better not be in my 1-bedroom apartment, I'll tell you that. But okay, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a roadmap. And thank you, Kate. So we've got a good set of people knowing that HR is also a central tenet of the diversity planning process. And so Ruby, I know you turn your screen off, but just consider your name on the list. So thank you, please and thank you. So what we'll do is I'll set up a meeting for our colleagues in the next few weeks, and maybe we can start mapping out who we'd like to be involved, organizing, and I'll come with some ideas, just like an outline for process, just for consideration, and then we will drive the process from there.
And how long do you expect the process to take?
A year.
Okay.
Because we want to also get some external engagement. Like we can
Right.
really do a SWOT analysis that really bolsters us. And this is where the power of this committee, I think, will come through, where we have Rob on here. We would love to have you engage with your colleagues, and then also, again, a lot of our community partners to help us be better.
Okay.
That's great.
Why don't we next move on to the Black History Month proclamation? Deanna, did you prepare one? Because
Yes.
I've also, okay.
Oh no, I'm finished. That was going to be my question. I started a draft and I was going to send it out this afternoon. I was going to ask you, what would you like to have happen? So
because I just took last year's and just edited for the dates, and I was maybe going to edit it for a couple of sentences. But what did you have in mind?
I also asked Brittany for the last few years as well.
Would you have a more challenging effort?
I'm sorry.
No,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
hear your question. I didn't hear your question.
No, I just was wondering what your plans were in terms of doing the proclamation.
I updated the language. Well, it was going to be whatever you say as a chair, but I was just trying to lift the draft to the group and then ask you whether or not we wanted to have it ready for. I was going to send something to you this afternoon after we had this discussion, because I'd already just kind of had something in the works for the meeting on Tuesday, or if somebody else was working on it, or wasn't quite sure, but wanted to make sure we had something for our February meeting.
Sure. Why don't we get together after the meeting, and we can see, and we can circulate it to the committee after this meeting, just to make sure, because again, there's not too much exciting that will probably change in the text. And the meeting will be on Tuesday at 5:30. I've also gotten Dorothy gotten Jubilee Singers to give me a tape of Lift Every Voice and Sing. It was the same tape that they used at the GIAC Martin Luther King event. It's about 5 minutes long, but I think we can spend 5 minutes on it once a year. So that's my plan for Tuesday.
I think it's powerful, and I think it's a really great thing to use. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's more than just them singing. They have lots of photos involved and everything else, focus on Dr. King and everything else. They had, like, the scene from Roots, where he's first, captured or whatever. And so there's lots of scenes like that within the video.
Also, Henry, I know this sounds like saying, well, will you make sure everyone stands when we do it as well, please? That's what I'm gonna say. I don't want to be that person, but it's a huge deal.
Well,
If I need to be standing,
well,
that's gonna be sitting there looking.
well, there are some of us who don't stand for the American flag, and so it'd be kind of tough to
Okay.
ask everybody to stand for the Pan-African flag. But some of us may stand, and maybe some of us will get the hint.
All I meant is just in terms of honors and recognition. So for example, when there's a portion of in the meetings where they ask us to salute the American flag and they do the Pledge of Allegiance, everybody stands then, you know? So, and maybe
Not everybody.
Okay, well, I can only see in the room or whatever, or I can only see in a little part. Okay, so all I'm only asking you is that the same question be raised in the space. People will choose to do whatever they want, but to me, it's akin to me from a respect place. That's all I'm asking.
I will email the legislature beforehand and at least request it.
Yes.
And say that, you know, that they could basically maybe stand for it. But again, it's up to them.
Yeah, all three verses.
Okay. The next is reports and updates. We have a Team Jedi 2022 goal setting. Is that Rachel or Deanna?
Me. The Team Jedi will meet tomorrow to review all their goals. For those who are newer colleagues, Team Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion is a committee of between 20 and 30 employees that formed after the 2018 climate survey. It's a year old now. We have representation from the majority of departments, and they are divided into 5 committees at this point, knowing that what we try to do is support the work of WDIC and support the work throughout the organization. An example of that is proclamations, looking at recognition and appreciation. Last year, they came up with a list of ways to recognitions for the year. And so we'll share those with WDIC to kind of alert the team or this committee to the process and things we need to get done. And then throughout the upcoming year, I assume they'll have a part or a role in the strategic diversity planning process. I think a way to describe it is that WDIC is seen as the policy setting group. And we try to have more boots on the ground embedded in the organization and trying to support the committee. And so they've come up with goals, that their respective goals based upon organizational need that they see. They'll share those tomorrow with each other. And then from there, I will share them with this committee as soon as they have an idea of what that looks like. They've been going through that process over the last year, but also reflecting on what they learned last year. And so again, most of the employees on this team just met each other in the last year and they didn't have a relationship. So it's been quite a lot of level setting. So, and Rachel and Dr. Clark are members. You guys want to share anything about Team Jedi or highlight anything?
Just that it's been, I think it's been a great process that we have gone through over the last year and a half, I guess, since gathering and in terms of, and also the continuity has been really strong in terms of membership. We've had just a few folks who have had to transition off either because of relocation or other factors, but by and large, the group has kept its cohesion and also to its excitement and its commitment to centering equity within the county. So that's one of the things that has been, I think, impressive about this, about Team Jedi over the last year and a half. We've been meeting and gathering and working.
Anything else, Rachel, you'd like to add? Rachel's been kind of my right-hand woman, for lack of a better, and been extraordinarily helpful and just kind of just seeing where there's a need and just kind of just jumping in without just saying, hey, you just, whether it's taking notes and just coming up with ideas, just been exceptional. And so, and Dr. Clark as well. So I appreciate both of you. Rachel, anything you'd like to add?
I'd just say, I think it's great it's the only, aside from helping with the 2018 climate survey implementation stuff, Jedi has been the place where I really learn about what other departments do, and getting to meet and learn about what other people's roles are in the organization. And otherwise, you know, I've been here 15 years and I was very siloed in the county clerk DMV. And so it's been really eye-opening just to see the work that other departments are doing and have that highlighted in a way that makes me feel good about being part of the organization as a whole.
One thing that I would say that I just am really proud of with the group is they're really bonded, you know, and it's really unusual to see in certain cases, which is what you hope in the work. Like you went from, when I first started, I was like, wow, they don't know each other at all. Okay, now this is what you have to do, because I thought maybe there was some relationship. Like literally, they're like, you're in the airport or they don't know each other at all. But that relationship now, and then seeing really the power of the work, and that they will call on each other now because, oh, I heard you say this in a meeting. Can you come work on this? Or for example, the planning department. Joan reached out because planners love to organize things. You know, you can't outplan a planner. Joan said, hey, you have this idea. Can I help you? Can I help with this? Of course, Joan, sure. You know, there's always a place for you, you know? And so just proactively, and then also just the interconnection. Now, where we have to grow is in our depth, you know, of knowledge, our education. But there's a willing spirit, just learning the concepts and how to apply them. What does equity mean? Equity versus equality. I'm having that conversation all the time. And I know anybody who teaches this has that conversation at least once a day. So those kinds of things, but just they cure an enormous amount. And I can't tell you, even when we were able to surprise Leslin, which I was so proud of, everybody just jumped in. It was like, we're a full bore, you know, let's just do it, you know? And so that, and this entire screen, and everybody was just, and so that's just something that I'm proud of. And the group participation is not like, they've just stuck with it. And I constantly am checking with them and saying, does this feel like a job to you? Because if it is, that's just the wrong thing. You know, this is a passion, this is work. And every time I go to them and say, hey, are you a part of this? Are you in? And they're like, yes, what can we do? Can we do more? So that's the mentality of this group of folks. And I'm just proud of them.
Okay. Well, why don't you can get back to us about their goals they set for 2020, 2021. And I'd like to also now move on to the WDIC goals for 2022. And I do have, let me see if I can share my screen. And is it showing? Okay, these are the goals that we had in 2021. And membership is the top goal. I know that Rachel and Deanna looked at that. Did you guys get anywhere on increasing the membership?
We came up with a list of like where we wanted to outreach. And I think the next thing was for us just to outreach, you know, right? Rachel, just do the outreach. And so maybe next time in our next meeting, we can revisit that from perspective of I think everybody's in agreement, well, they were, on who the target groups. And so the names of people, we also had a list of names of people that we wanted to reach out to directly. And then maybe it's a good point to revisit who's on that list. And then the number of appointments, because I wasn't sure exactly in certain spots, you know, how many spaces we would have. And then Brittany, I'll be reaching out to you to confirm and make sure that's right. But then we're happy to follow up.
Okay. Of the workforce, we obtained data regarding diversity in county workforce searches. We have their support and better understanding the processes in place in human resources. We created a diversity and inclusion award, which is thanks to a lot to Team Jedi. we also have to follow up with that just to make sure we get everything set up for the next awarding of the Diversity and Inclusion Award. And we reviewed the county's compliance with ADA in terms of employment and facilities. In terms of diversity, we adopted the diversity statement, but now we have to work on the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, the strategic plan. I did not get to investigating whether the issue of racism is a public health crisis. I will follow up with Frank Cooper on that and try to get that passed this year. We established a calendar for all notable days and heritage months to be celebrated, and we created a Juneteenth celebration. And in the inclusion, we explored the hosting of outside speakers for Heritage Month. I know that for Black History Month, Dr. Clark is going to put together something about CRT and the anti-CRT mentalities that have been out there in the country, and is going to do that in March, I believe. So it won't be during Black History Month, it'll be the next month after. And maybe Dr. Clark, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, that seminar that you plan on hosting.
Yeah, we'd like to host a panel discussion. Initially, my thoughts were to do something else for Black History Month. After Henry and I had an exchange last week, we decided to do the CRT program, which I had planned to do in April of this year. But instead we decided to kind of bring it up to March, but also we decided to go with March to give us ample time to advertise for the event. We know that there's a great deal of misinterpretation and distortion related to CRT, and that has been used as a cudgel for political purposes in the public sphere. And so there's, I think, a real opportunity to have some discussion about what indeed it is, which, as I understand it, primarily it emerged out of law schools and persons such as Kimberly Crenshaw, graduate of Cornell's Africana Studies program, and others who sought to take an analysis of the legal shortcomings of the civil rights movement for all of its accomplishments, but also to look at what were the areas that those legislative achievements did not address. But it's been used really as a smokescreen to really dismiss substantive conversation about the omissions in American history and the truth about American racism from even before the inception of this country, but the way in which that is carried on throughout the present, and that's the way in which it's been distorted. So we wanted to bring together a group of experts that can talk about what indeed critical race theory is. And so the working title for this program is "What is Critical Race Theory Really?" with an intent to sponsor that, to have that program in March.
Yeah, because I've been listening around in like the NPR and other stations, and just the analysis that, we're getting rid of, you can't talk about race in school. This is so antithetical to Black History Month, which it is to promote the Black history of the country and everything else. And yet the anti-CRT movement is to basically whitewash everything.
Yeah.
And saying, no, if a white student feels bad about an example of slavery or something that's racist that happened, then you should ban it.
It's just a new stanza in an old bad song.
Yeah, and just coming off the George Floyd protest, and everything else, where the nation was embracing Black Lives Matter and everything else, turn around, eliminate all discussion of racism in the grade schools is just disheartening.
I think
So
we
I
all
thought-
know I think we all know that we're unfortunately still in a social place where these discussions are permitted only while fashionable, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, the events surrounding Floyd's death briefly created a fashion, but we have a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. But also, and if we can also maybe work together to maybe do something for Pride Month and for, Asian American months too, that would be good, and that we can use some funding to get a speaker in or something to really beef up our offerings during the history months or heritage months. So it's more than just a proclamation. It's also a discussion that we held. And really, as I discussed last year, I think we should, I didn't do it for the most recent Pride Month we had, but we tried to do it for Black History Month, is to also promote it. And also basically get a video clip or get something to send to the employees, to send to our people saying, well, yeah, this is that we embrace Black History Month and we want you to know about it. We're just not going to pass it or have a proclamation. 5 minutes later, it's gone.
Mhm.
So, and then the last thing is investigate a cultural bias survey. And I'm not really sure. When is the next climate survey?
Supposed to happen 2023.
Yeah. What do people think about maybe investigating a cultural bias survey?
I think there could be maybe better questions in the survey to address DEI issues. I don't know if we need to have a separate survey if we're already doing one every 4 however many years. I think the section on those questions was pretty small. So I don't know if we could, was it Kaleidoscope? Is that who did that
think
for
so.
us?
think so.
So maybe we could work with them just to bulk up that section of questions in the survey next time.
We'll have to solicit feedback in one way or shape or form with the strategic planning process. I don't know that I would think that we need to do another survey in that way at this time. But I think we will need to get some more information. And also, I'm beating a dead horse when I say this, we have to do some of the things that they already asked us to do and some of the other things. And then try to do some, and so that's where I'm coming from, because in some of those things we just have to keep working at them. So I think we will be getting feedback, but I don't know that, I guess what would we like to know would be helpful in terms of investigating and having a survey. And then in order for us to develop a strategic diversity plan, I'm assuming we can't get there without understanding some of those things as far as.
Well, I think too, and just to follow up on what you said, Deanna, maybe what might be beneficial would be a check-in. How are we doing in relation to the recommendations from the 2018 survey? And sort of, as opposed to doing a full-fledged survey as we did 4 years ago. Gosh, it's hard to believe it's been that long. That we sort of take an account, inventory.
Mhm.
How far we've come, how far we have to go.
Yeah, because I assume that during okay, Kate.
Oh, Sorry, I didn't see it. My hand was up. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep going up and down. I was just curious around the DEI stuff. I wasn't here in 2018. One of the things that we have a youth advisory board, that oversees some of the allocation decisions actually all the allocation decisions that we make for our department, and are really active each month in our department. And I was trying to conversations with Amy Hendricks, in the last couple of months. I was really talking about how to do DEI work with them. And so I was wondering if there was some interest or some thought process in maybe doing a survey of yes, employees, but also these advisory committees. I know, one of the things we require them to do is watch like the sexual harassment training and sign off that they've done that. And as part of, being a liaison and representing and influencing county decisions, where do they stand and maybe giving some guidelines or help resources to department heads to make sure those conversations are happening in those corners of the county as well. Just as a thought.
Mhm.
I think leaning into, again, the strategic diversity plan, I think looking at our advisory boards could be one of the areas that we facilitate a discussion or something like that with them around the topic that you're talking about. That would be very informative, because they would also inform our ability to hopefully improve our service delivery, and that's why they exist, to help us improve and make us better. So I don't have we don't have all the answers yet, but I do see a robust outreach. I do foresee a robust feedback process. I think that's for us to design what that looks like, but I would foresee something like making something happen like you just described with the advisory board and being support in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
could you model it after the thing you do for orientation for the new employees?
Will you clarify your question?
Yes, you have the new employee orientation about diversity and everything else. Because we now ask the diverse question on the application for advisory boards.
Okay.
People fill it out, they give a 1 or 2 sentence or whatever. And I know I went through the sexual harassment training and everything else for the being advisory boards, whether we could either find a video or maybe do something similar to a new onboarding process for the advisory committees. Not have it be very specific, but be in general, saying this is what we expect of you in terms of diversity on an advisory board.
Oh, sure. Somebody from the technology ITS department actually had reached out to me and asked me about doing some work and what that might look like. But also we would love for it to be a lot of different experiences, a lot of voices talking, because I think in order to really make the impact, it's like the past, present, future, it's conversations, and that it's our journey in the work. And so I think before I can fully commit, I just need to know more about the advisory board process here, but I'm happy to share some information about how the county is, what our commitment is and some of our basic foundational information, but at the same time, not knowing what each one of them do, and then also wanting to tailor it to the commitment of the work that they are assigned to do. And so I can put a follow with Brittany or somebody in the clerk's office around what that would look like.
Yeah, I know that, well, at least for the, I take a manager's sexual harassment training as opposed to the usual one, but I know that the usual one is not specific. It's just a generic training that everyone has to take. They want, CJATI people had to sign off on it. And so I was wondering whether we could in fact institute something that would be fairly genetic, and in fact would not even, just be a video that they'd have to watch and confirm that they watched it.
Well, whatever the committee decides, I will try to support however possible, say it that way. However, if we're going to do a video, our video has to be fire. I'm saying we're not going to just have any old video. I'm sorry, because some of these videos are terrible, and I don't support that, I don't want to make a terrible video. So,
I'm trying to take work off your plate and have you find a video that would substitute for you doing the project.
Okay, no, I'm sure. I'm happy to do some research on that. I think it's going to be a team effort, but I'm just saying whatever it is, because, so I've heard people saying, people are people. So we're trying to figure out how we get through the training as fast as we can. Can we get to the end? How do I get the certificate? I can't believe this video is out there. And also, when people are cynical, it makes it even worse. And so I don't want our video to be that video, or whatever it comes with. I have to try to be honest, because I sit through some of these and I'd be like, oh my Lord, and actually even the sexual harassment and retaliation in the workplace, a lot of that has to do with discrimination. I thought, I can't be in this job if I don't know that, So I'm going through these things, trying to get them done. I just, we'll figure something out, I'm sure.
Okay.
Just as long as it's not that video that's terrible. That's all I'm saying.
Well, speaking of videos, if I may, one of the things that I don't know if it's Team Jedi or HR, WDIC, maybe it's a request that comes from WDIC that we do need to look at. Many of our mandatory training videos that we use, a lot of them are, just about, heterosexual couples or partnerships, male-female relationships, and not very inclusive. So we need to be looking at all of those as well and seeing, we've been chipping away at some of the language in our policies, but, some of those training videos, I look at them and it's like, they're different scenarios than just this. And I know they don't come from us, they come from the state, but we might want to be looking at, sort of creating some of our own as well for those trainings, because they're not inclusive. They're pretty one-sided. Henry, I just had a couple of quick questions for you. You talked about the Juneteenth celebration. Is there still a movement afoot around the Juneteenth holiday? The state declared a holiday. Are we doing something locally?
Yes. In fact, I am pleased to announce that Annette Gordon-Reed has been confirmed as our speaker for Juneteenth on June 13th. She has written a well-received New York Times bestseller book called On Juneteenth, in which she talks about the history of the holiday, her own personal reflections on the holiday growing up in Texas, where it was celebrated, but also a memoir. So it's really just a really superb treatment of the event, and also to recognize this, until recently, just really sort of underappreciated commemoration. And so she is locked in for our event. I will be sending an email before the end of the week to the folks who organized last year's event, and just to gauge interest in continuing on, and to begin to have an initial planning meeting to do some brainstorming about what we do for this year. So yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So one more thing I'll say too, if you want to get a sample of Annette Gordon-Reed, I would encourage you to go to the NPR website, to the Fresh Air page, the NPR show. She was interviewed on Fresh Air on May 25th of last year, right after the book had been published. And that will give you a snapshot of, what the depth of her scholarship and knowledge and understanding around Juneteenth.
Yes, Leslyn, in terms of the question that you asked about the holiday, I have to work out I have to talk to Deanna about it, because I know that Deanna and Ruby met with Jonathan about the process. And maybe
Sure.
Deanna can update us.
Sure. We will have a memo for you all next month. We met with Jonathan a couple of times, and then we met with finance. What they told us to do was come back and bring costs. And we ultimately we had to go through what it would be like to work with our union representatives and what it would look like to adjust contracts and what would have to happen to get that done. So he talked us through those things. And then we went to the finance department and said, how would we go about this? And then they gave us the costs for what it would take to add an additional day or take one away, or it depends on what it would look like. Then what we were charged with doing is identifying what it would take to do so. We were going to send a memo to you all for that scenario, knowing that the next step would have to go back to Bill. But after this group considers that, it would go back to our council for movement forward. Ruby, is that a good explanation of where we are?
I think I caught most of that, Deanna. Yes.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So we've had multiple conversations trying to figure out what we would have to do, how we have to do it. So we'll have them with our goal has been to get this to you in February to have that for us.
I appreciate the continued work on it. So, all right. I don't remember what my other question was.
Okay.
There
does
was something
anybody-
Kate said and I don't remember.
Okay. Does anybody have any other suggestions for goals that we want to accomplish this year?
I mean, I don't have a suggestion for a goal, but I don't know, again, if this is for Team Jedi or if this is a charge from WDIC. Deanna alluded to it. And I think in terms of education and enlightenment and equity throughout the organization, that's sort of that overarching, foundational work for everything that we're doing. That could include reviving of U2O, understanding to overcome. Some of us in the community have talked about it. The watching and discussion on Raise the Power of an Illusion, which was incredibly successful in 2013 when we did it. Thinking of small group, not just reading and discussion, but video and discussion things. But really sort of moving to that place of, let's start highlighting and amplifying this work in ways that small bites that is digestible to folks that people can handle, that they can take. Promoting as much as we can. Those are my 3 E's, education, enlightenment, on equity, and having that as a good platform for everything. So for me, that's sort of, I don't know if it's a goal you want to say, it's something that I want to add to our whole work plan here for WDIC. I had Deanna and Jason, I believe it's Deanna and Jason, watch American Skin,
Yes.
which I think is an incredible movie for discussion, small group discussion. And I would encourage that, Jedi might think of some of those videos and movies for even your own meetings, 5-minute video to watch and talk about it before you go on to what your topic is.
Well, sure, we can include that. We just have to decide, who's gonna, maybe all of us can be involved. And just do it that way. And so we can share the work and we can also share the process. Because Deanna, you're doing the book club next month, right?
Yes, March, it'll be the week, 4 Wednesdays in March 9th through March 30th, or the 4 Wednesdays in March, whatever this says. Yes, and we'll be putting out advertisement in the next week or so. Dr. Gonzalez will be doing it for us again. This is the transitional year. I'm trying to try a couple of new things, but also trying to keep the process pretty steady and for this year, and then try to even continue to stretch us in the the next year. So yeah, we're excited about that coming up, and we'll be announcing the book very soon, knowing that we appreciate the support of WDIC and continuing to purchase the books for the workforce reading and discussion program, and we'll be also partnering with the city as well. I've been working with Shelley and Michelle Nunn on this as well, and trying to figure out how to make sure that within this discussion that the groups can be small enough to have some of these discussions. So they're in, as I love that the 3 E's. Okay, so I had not heard that before. Excellent. Yep, we're doing it.
Yeah, and maybe you can also raise it at Team Jedi tomorrow about a discussion about the process.
Or
Leslie's idea that, you know.
Just for internal. I mean, Jedi
Right.
deals with the, their internal stuff. I don't know if there's, a place for Jedi to be hosting, a lunch and learn or whatever it is.
I think
I'm just throwing out ideas.
Sure. I think I will raise it with them when they talk about their goals tomorrow, and then I'll let you know what they come up with. But I don't see that we're always trying to find ways to communicate with people and also figure out how to do that. And so I think that's a great idea, and it's an interactive idea. And that's especially when you spend 8 hours a day on Zoom, people are looking at more interaction and actually more impact, right? Somebody asked me why I rocked in my chair, and I said, it's because I'm bored. So, like, it's because it's not because I feel passionate about something. It's like I've been sitting here for 10 hours. So, all right. So,
yeah. It's interesting you said that, Deanna, because that's why I said, really small group, because it might be something that you can accommodate with, 4 people in the conference room of the Office of Human Rights and a TV screen, and one person from different department goes back and takes it to their department, and they, those, yeah,
we could do that.
I'm tired of Zoom too, so.
Right, and this could be our discussion about the challenge. Within your different departments, like even at our next department head meeting that comes up, I'm not in charge of the agenda, but Lisa Holmes is somewhere, and I'm like, Lisa, we lift this as a potential idea for our department heads and their staff meetings, coming back and also sending us some kind of visual of what you did. Send us a picture. What were your takeaways? How do we engage the workforce differently? Last few, Ruby, myself, Shelley, Larry, Heather. Am I missing anybody? We went to a police recruitment conference in Philly the last few days, and Mona would have been there as well, but she didn't start in time, the registration process. And so while we were there, one of the things that we took away was that in some spaces, there's just a lack of innovation and trying new things, and so I think the time is now to, if you're not done it before, don't be afraid to try it, or think outside the box, because one of the things that was like, well, numbers are down and things like that, but a lot of the strategies, some were helpful, but at the same time, like the willingness to do something you've never done before, and understanding the need for different outreach in terms of intergenerational connection. And also with our workforce, we have to do something different to retain people, and also for those who may or may not be happy at this stage of career, help them get to the best place that they, what's best for them.
Yeah, and also it just helps, spread the word about DEI stuff in the county. And so any more we can do about that is a positive. And so we can also structure it with the diversity statement, or whatever, and then show a little film and have people talk about it just for like 20, 30 minutes. So yeah, we should definitely think about that and come up with further ideas of what suggestions we'd have to follow up with that. Okay, anything else in the next 4 minutes? Anybody else to contribute? Like any announcements, anything else?
So Henry, will you be sending us a draft of the goals for the coming year then, next?
Sure.
Or
yeah, I'll send you the goals that we have for next year. But we will finalize in the next meeting, which will be in a month, as opposed to 2 months.
I just like to know which ones. Go ahead.
Yeah, since we have reinstated back to our monthly meetings. So. Well, okay. Nothing to be said, and so I'll let you go 3 minutes early. And thank you for showing up, and we'll be in touch.
All right.
Goodbye.